Have you ever felt the air vanish in a room, not because of heat, but because of tension? That Friday morning at Liberty High School in Willow Creek, Virginia, was one of those moments. The gym was packed for Founders Day, a celebration of community values and student excellence. But the stage told another story. Every speaker listed was white. And when Chief Lyle Harrison stepped up, the chill hit hard. 15-year-old Caleb Reynolds stood near the front, pressed khakis, clean haircut, a quiet fire in his eyes. His mother, Eleanor Vance, had dropped him off in silence that morning, just a tight hand squeeze, like she knew something was off. The flags, the folding chairs, the smiling faces, they were decorations over a crack in the floor. Harrison removed his sunglasses and scanned the crowd like a drill sergeant. "You kids are the future," he began, "but the future needs discipline. I was raised in a grateful America, not the kind rewriting history to make us the enemy." Murmurs of agreement rolled through the crowd. A few teachers stiffened. Ms. Olivia Hayes, the civics teacher, clutched her notepad. Caleb felt his chest tighten. He'd studied history, real history, not the sanitized version Harrison spewed. And before he could stop himself, his hand was in the air. "May I say something?" Caleb asked, voice calm. Harrison squinted. "Go ahead." The Southern economy wasn't just about agriculture. It was built on slavery. That's not opinion, it's fact. The gym fell silent. A student gasped. A teacher dropped a pen. Harrison's face tightened. "You challenging me, son?" "I'm challenging the version of history that leaves people out," Caleb replied. The slap came so fast no one believed it happened, until Caleb's glasses hit the floor. The sound echoed across the gym like a firecracker. His cheek burned, but he didn't move. Didn't cry. He just stood there, breathing hard. Then clap. A slow, deliberate clap from the back. The gym turned. The double doors opened. Director Evelyn Hayes, a Department of Justice official in Liberty High alum, strode in, flanked by two plainclothes officers. Her uniform was flawless, her face unreadable. She didn't need a mic. Her presence did the talking. "I'm here because a child was struck for telling the truth," she said, voice low and controlled. "Not on a street corner, but in a school auditorium." Harrison stammered, "Nobody told me you'd be attending." She raised a finger. He froze. "You struck a black student during a ceremony meant to honor courage, and you thought there wouldn't be consequences." The gym was a vacuum. Principal Miller tried to interject, but Hayes cut him off. There is no internal matter when 3 camera phones captured it, and no discipline when a child is assaulted. She walked to Caleb and offered a handkerchief. "You stood for truth when others chose silence. You made me proud." From the crowd, Eleanor cried. Not out of pain, but pride laced with fear. Because she knew what would come next. That afternoon, a scorched Confederate flag was thrown on their front lawn. Eleanor called the police 3 times. When someone finally showed, he took no notes, asked no questions, just said, "We'll look into it." Inside, Caleb sat on the edge of his bed, eyes distant. Eleanor made him sleep in her room that night. No explanation, just instinct. The school board released a cold, vague statement. An incident occurred. An investigation is ongoing. Not a name. Not a word of apology. Teachers whispered. Some backed off. But Ms. Olivia Hayes stood tall the next day, teaching the First Amendment like her life depended on it. The students split. Some called Caleb a hero. Others called him disrespectful. Online debates exploded. A girl posted that he deserved it. Her account was gone by nightfall. 2 days later, Director Hayes gave a press conference outside Liberty High. This wasn't discipline. It was abuse. If we can't call it what it is, we're part of the problem. When asked if she wanted the chief to resign, she answered simply, "I want accountability. Not statements. Not silence. Action." The police released a bland follow-up. Harrison said his instincts kicked in, as if the truth spoken by a child had been a threat. But the real threat now circled Caleb's home. Cars idled outside. Bottles shattered against their wall. Eleanor sat by the window every night, flashlight in hand, phone ready to be why Monday. Willow Creek was split in 2. Some called Caleb the truth speaker. Others whispered he should know his place. That morning, A note was taped to Eleanor's windshield. Just 3 words. Make him stop. Summer days in Willow Creek grew heavier, not with heat, but with awareness. Caleb Reynolds no longer walked the halls of Liberty high unnoticed. Each step echoed with the memory of a slap that woke a sleeping town. Yet, despite the eyes that followed him, some reverent, some wary, Caleb moved with quiet strength. Change had cracked the surface, but deeper shifts take time. After Evelyn Hayes' silent return and her brief walk through the halls with Caleb, people expected more announcements, maybe another lawsuit, maybe cameras. But there were none. Instead, she left the boy with a book, The Fire Next Time by James Baldwin, and a quiet nod, as if to say, now it's your turn. That summer, Caleb read the book twice. Each page dug into him like roots finding soil. He wrote in the margins. Not answers, just questions. What now? What does justice look like when no one's watching? Can change last longer than outrage? Mrs. Eleanor Vance, Caleb's mother, noticed the difference in her son. He still helped with groceries, still cleaned his room after being reminded, but he had become quieter, more observant. He no longer flinched when someone raised their voice, not because the fear was gone, but because he had found something deeper, resilience to make the T-School. The monthly forums Mr. Henderson started continued. Topics grew bolder. Power versus authority, when adults are wrong, and healing after harm. Students filled the chairs, not because they had to, but because they wanted to. Caleb didn't always speak, but when he did, people leaned in. At one of the forums, a girl named Sienna, usually quiet, always in the back row, stood up. I used to think keeping quiet was safer, she said. But Caleb taught me that silence can sometimes be a betrayal. Her voice trembled. My brother was suspended last year for challenging a teacher. We didn't fight back. We just left it. She paused, then added, but now, I wish we'd spoken. Caleb didn't respond then. He didn't need to. Later, he found her by her locker and handed her a note. It's never too late to speak. Truth waits for no one, but it listens when we do. Meanwhile, outside the school walls, adults wrestled with discomfort. The town council introduced a new policy, mandatory cultural sensitivity training for all public employees. Some groaned, some applauded. Sheriff Lyle Harrison remained on unpaid leave. Whispers said he might quietly retire. Others hoped he'd never return. A replacement was named, Interim Chief Rosa Delgado, a Latina woman with 20 years of experience and no patience for politics. She walked into the department on her first day with 2 things, a binder titled Accountability and Reform, and a framed photo of her grandmother who'd marched in the 1968 East LA protests. Let's fix what broke before it breaks more, she said during her brief introductory meeting. The town, still unsure of its reflection, tried to adjust. Church sermons included new words, listening, justice, truth. The Daily Grind coffee shop added a community board titled Voices Matter, where people could post thoughts anonymously. Most were simple. I believe you, Caleb. Truth over tradition. I'm sorry it took this long. But not everyone celebrated. One day, Caleb's locker was spray-painted with the word liar. Red, loud, meant to sting. When he saw it, he didn't speak. He simply pulled out a cloth and wiped it clean. By the time the bell rang, the word was gone, but 3 students had already taken photos. One of them, David, posted it with the caption, "They tried to silence him again." But truth doesn't wipe away that easy. The post went viral. The next morning, a new phrase was chalked across the front steps of the school. Truth doesn't flinch. No one confessed, but students arrived early to take pictures, standing in front of the words like it was a banner of something new. Principal Alvarez didn't order it removed. He stood beside it during the morning announcements and simply said, let's keep moving forward. Caleb's world wasn't perfect. He still had nights when the slap echoed louder than sleep. He still avoided sudden gestures. But something else had changed. He was no longer the boy who'd been hit. He had become the boy who spoke, and others followed. Point one evening. As autumn approached and leaves began to curl, Caleb sat on the porch with his mother. She handed him a mug of tea, steam rising between them. Mom, he asked, Do you think this really changed anything? Eleanor took a sip before answering. Not everything. Not yet. But change doesn't always look like fireworks. Sometimes it's a candle passed hand to hand, one light at a time. Caleb nodded, pulling the Baldwin book from his bag. Inside, on the last page, he had written a quote of his own. I didn't mean to start a fire. I just refused to stay cold. And for the first time in months, he slept sound.